G'day, greetings, and hello everyone. Welcome back to the series where I tackle everything essential to sci-fi video games. If by essential you meant sci-fi video games but racist, then yeah, welcome back. Today is a very special episode as I am focusing on one of my favorite video games, Destiny 2. Whether you are an avid lover of the true Destiny endgame content being the drip or fashion, absolutely taking names of fallen dregs, more on that later, or if you just love to connect and socialize with your friends in some of the, well, questionably named clans, then Destiny 2 is the game for you. Before I continue, make sure to absolutely nuke the like and subscribe button as it would help support my channel. And yeah, let's begin, shall we? For those two people in the audience that aren't familiar with Destiny 2, picture this, right? Hundreds of years prior to the event. No, I'm not going to do that. Hundreds of years prior to the events of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2, you have this big ball that decides, hey, you guys look like you need some help, and, like any good person would, decides to help us out with advances in population growth, technology, space travel. Then, essentially, who is Space Megamind decides that fun isn't allowed and proceeds to try and genocide the entire human race. Then, one dark age and a big Trump war later, humanity starts to thrive in the last city, the Traveler resurrecting immortal humans to defend humanity from space pirates, space rhinos, Terminators if they're all made of milk, whatever these things are, and budget cuts the race. Mix them all together and you have a narrative-driven FPS game with a sweet loot grind and a whole lot of fashion. Now, to the topic at hand. Being a passionate Destiny 2 gamer, I was very adamant that I definitely wanted to choose this game amongst the three that I'm currently analysing. Well, kind of. If you want, think of it as a semi-scripted video where a gamer gets to flex every single wrinkle in his brain that just screams lore. I'm legally obliged to say that this is an analysis for a university context, so we're just going to stick with that, alright? Now, when it comes to the lore of Destiny, there is a lot, especially regarding every single race within the game. For the context of this video, I will only be looking at one race, both with certain gameplay and mechanics, whilst also using lore and story found within the game and paratextual material outside the game, such as Destiny Grimoire. But because I don't have the money to buy over $100 worth of lore, and I do not like reading, I will be using content from YouTubers that have done both of these things as evidence within my video. All YouTubers' links will be in the description, by the way. Now, if there was one species within the Destiny franchise that screams discrimination, hierarchy, and affordance, more on affordance later, I will clarify that, it would be the scavenging, multi-armed space pirates known as the Fallen. Yes, the Elixni, or more commonly referred to as the Fallen, are a foreign race of essentially space pirates that like to create advanced shit out of useless shit, and once that shit breaks, they make more shit out of that shit. I mean, literally, look at these. Like, look at them, they're just... oh, glorious. Anyways, originating from their home planet of Reese, that's Reese with two eyes, the Elixni, similarly to humanity, were also chosen by the Traveler, the big white ball. But when Space Megamind, I mean the Witness, showed up, the Traveler hightailed it to Earth, and like any good civilization would, the Fallen followed it to Earth. And like any good fellow society would, humanity would welcome them with open arms. So yeah, after they lost their planet, I guess it wasn't enough. Anyway, the important thing to note about the Fallen is that they are a very hierarchical society with different houses representing clans and a social hierarchy of slaves and leaders, except Bungie uses nicer words like dregs and kells. Each house has different ideologies and motives that sometimes do not reflect one another even though they are the same race. The currently known Fallen houses are House of Devils, Dusk, Exile, Judgment, Kings, Light, Salvation, Scar, Winter, and Wolves. Yes, there is a lot, and no, I will not cover all of them because this video would turn into a podcast. However, I will cover the core concepts that are present overall within the Fallen society, which is present throughout every Fallen house. So yeah, there's no need for me to turn this video into a podcast. be thankful. One key feature that is present throughout both the gameplay and story of the Fallen is that it is a very hierarchical race, as I've just described, where the strongest Fallen or Kell has high authority over every Elixir that resides within the house. This includes dregs, vandals, captains, etc. Even going as far as using methods such as docking and ether hoarding to control the lower members of their society. Basically, Fallen are born with 4 arms and 2 legs, and docking, no, it is not made up, and yes, I am aware of how bad it sounds, is the process in which any Fallen member reaches adolescence. The Kell will rip off their back 2 arms as a sign of insignificance and rank. And ether hoarding, well, just imagine if puberty existed as an object and that object was vape smoke and you had to inhale it in order to reach physical maturity. And ether hoarding, well, just imagine if puberty existed as an object and that object was vape smoke and you had to inhale it in order to reach physical maturity. Yeah, Kells exploited this and decided they should get much bigger and powerful, and the rest of their society should be much weaker, forcing them to follow everything that they say, reflecting even how academics view forms of racism, specifically systemic racism within our own society. Systemic and structural racism are forms of racism that are pervasively and deeply embedded in and throughout systems, laws, written or unwritten policies, entrenched practices, and established beliefs and attitudes that produce, condone, and perpetrate widespread unfair treatment. Summarized by Braveman and an abundance of other academics who all contributed to an in-depth and thorough article highlighting forms of racism. Do recommend you check it out, link is in the description. But yeah, even game design affordances reflect racism seen within this game. If you aren't familiar with what I mean by video game affordances, check the description for a link to a website that does a better job of explaining it than I would. But yeah, in summary, purposeful use of game design to allow the player to perform certain actions is a good way of seeing it, like pressing a certain button to jump or certain mechanics needing a specific item by the player to bypass it. To use Destiny 2 as an example, the player can press the shoot button to kill a dreg or vandal faster with a normal weapon, whilst the survivability of a captain, fallen boss or Kell can survive slightly longer due to shielding and a much larger health pool used to intentionally make these characters stronger than other ones. I mean, literally look at this guy. Like, come on, you can tell just by his stature and his substantial health pool that he is not messing around. But yeah, there you go. Mash all of these characteristics together and you get a fictional race in a fictional game that is fictionally oppressed by its leaders, hates humanity, hates its lower class, and loves building stuff. 85% of their story is hidden in lore. You know what, that reminds me of something, but you know, I can't quite remember what it is, you know. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed what is essentially another scuffed dookie of a video for the pile that is my digital artifact. Also, if you haven't seen my last video where I discuss implications of racism within Halo Reach, link will be in the description. Catch you next time.